Hi there, it's the Common Magician, and today is a very, very special day. Not just because I took the time to put creamer in my coffee, but it is actually the 4th of July today. Independence Day in America. It's a day when we go out and watch parades, eat hot dogs, hamburgers, swim in the pool with the kids and the family, stuff ourselves with candy and all kinds of things, and we blow things up. We shoot off fireworks and make a mess and a lot of hootin' and hollerin' in the American way. And our British friends go to work like every other day. It's a great day. So it is the 4th of July. So if you hear some banging going on outside, it's because it's now dark and there may be some fireworks going on in the neighborhood, as there is every 4th of July. I am back with a follow-up to this series where you're offering up some effect ideas, and we're trying to replicate these ideas with the Common Magician sort of methodology, using the tactics that we use frequently on this channel. So this one goes out to Nelson Bizzle, handle the Back to Funk. That is the handle on YouTube. Came up with this idea, and actually I'm going to take some time to present this in a number of different ways, and I'll try by the end of this actually to do this the way it is described. But as I was trying to conceive of how to do the effect, this is a card effect. As I was trying to conceive of how to do the effect, it occurred to me that this might work well in a routine kind of situation. It wasn't really portrayed that way, but I'm going to give you that option. I'm going to talk about multiple methods and explain some of those methods to you. And then again, I'll try to wind this up by doing the more precise, exact example that was talked about and presented, which actually is a pretty impossible sounding feat, but I think pretty easy to do, and I'll show you a way to accomplish that. So here is my take on the effect, and then we'll whittle down to what we had there. So what I need you to do is very simple. Just go ahead and put your finger out like this, and I just want you to reach out and just touch any card somewhere in the middle. Just touch any card at all that you want. Let's say this one right here, that's the one you go for, and we have a selection, and what I want you to do is just hold on to that, okay, selection for a moment. So we'll set our selections up here. See, make sure they're on camera, you can see them there. And same kind of thing again. I'm just going to dribble the cards, and you just say stop anytime that you want. So we'll dribble, you say stop right here. This is what you want. So we'll take this card as well, and we'll try this again. We'll make another kind of selection. We'll do it a little bit differently. In fact, I just want you to imagine a deck of cards. Imagine that you have a deck of cards sitting in the box like this one, and I want you to remove from the box either the number cards or the picture cards. You've got those two different groups there. So number cards heads, picture cards tails. We'll flip here, and it's number cards. So we're going to remove the number cards. That leaves us with the picture cards are in there. So you're thinking now about you're holding in your hands now the Jack, Queen, and King. So you've got like ladies and you've got men, right? Ladies and men there. So which ones would you like to pick out from that, the ladies or the men? Ladies are heads, men are tails. So we'll flip this again, and ladies it is. So we'll pick out the ladies, and you're looking at all of the queens there, and you've got the red cards, the black cards. You've got the four suits, right? Spades, hearts, clubs, diamonds. So which one do you want to go with? We'll just randomly select one here, and it looks like clubs. Clubs is what we're going for. So you're thinking of the Queen of Clubs. Very precise choice, right? Free selection here. So we have two random selections, and we have a card that you thought of, right? You didn't even actually take a card out, right? Let's see what we have here. So you have picked the Jack of Clubs. The Jack of Clubs. You have picked the Three of Hearts, and you're thinking of the Queen of Clubs. Is that correct? Okay, so let's just go through these. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the deck, and I'm going to spell each one of these. Okay, so Jack of Clubs, J-A-C-K K O V C L U B S. Jack of clubs. So that gets us to this card right here. Okay, Jack of clubs. That's that card. Then we have what? Three of hearts. Same thing. We're going to spell it out. T H R E E O F H E A R T S. Three of hearts. Okay, so we have a stack here, spells three of hearts. That leaves us at this spot right here. And then you were thinking of the Queen of clubs. Is that right? Queen of clubs. So let's do that. Q U E E N O F C L U B S. Queen of clubs. You have a stack for you. So that's your card. So again, from the deck, completely random, right? We had Jack of clubs, which you took out. We have three of hearts, which you took out. And we have Queen of clubs, which you thought of. The strange thing about this is that if you spell a selected card, it doesn't matter if it's chosen, if it's just found randomly, or if it's thought of, right? It doesn't matter. If you spell from the top of the deck, shuffled deck, right, any card, you will find its mate. Here we have the Jack of spades, here we have the three of diamonds, and here you had Queen of clubs, we have the Queen of spades, the other black queen. So that's the trick. Now, this was just a concept I thought of. It might not be what you're looking for, but it was a way that I thought to do this. What I'm going to do is explain this in a moment. But before I do that, I want to give an opportunity here to really do the trick that as it was described. So the way it was described is it had a deck that was shuffled. Now, by nuance, I shuffled this deck at the beginning of this, right? It was a kind of a casual shuffle. But in this situation, we say here, take the deck, go ahead and shuffle the cards, right? They shuffle the cards. And this is exactly as it was described. They described that the cards are shuffled and then they're spread face down, right? Like this, face down like that. And then what you're supposed to do is just randomly take a card. So we'll just take a card somewhere out of the middle. And then what you're supposed to do is the same kind of idea. We're going to count from the top of the deck, right? So we just take the cards and we're going to count from the top to whatever this is. Spell it out. So what is 5 of spades? So again, shuffle deck in use, spread, card randomly selected. 5 of spades, we're going to spell it out. F-I-V-E-O-F-S-P-A-D-E-S. 5 of spades. And the idea there is that if you spell out the stack, in the stack, the card that's randomly selected from a shuffle deck in use, you should hit the mate. So that was the actual trick that was talked about. I'll come back to that in a minute. This was a method that I had for that. We'll deal with that in a second. But first, I want to deal with the routine kind of variation on this. I thought it would be good routine because it's kind of one of those things that you might want to see again, right? You do it one time, and I think they'd want to see that happen one more time. It's a little short. It's kind of concise. It's really to the point. It probably deserves can you show me that again? But the way you can kind of defeat show me again is if you do it several times in a routine situation, which kind of negates the question to show it again because you just did it 3 times. Not only have we done it 3 times, but we did it in 3 slightly different ways, right? Now, this is simple. It involves a stack and a couple of fairly straightforward moves, and really you can force things any way that you want to, but ultimately what we need to have is from our force cards, we need to have in place some cards that we can count to in a spread call, or honestly you could just have them in place. Like you could just stack this, right? You could stack this up. Now, the reason why I bothered to do the spread call is because you might take the opportunity to have them shuffle part of the deck, all right, or pass around packets, but you retain one packet for yourself, but it's a very narrow packet. And this would allow you to do this trick, which I can't do on here because you're not here with me. It would allow you to do this with a pretty small slug at the top if you can call things into place. I did have one force on here which doesn't really fit that model. I have my double thick card here. You don't have to use this for this at all, but I just decided for one of them. And what I did is I put the 3 of hearts right above that, and it's in the top kind of fifth, right? Then what I had is I had the queen of hearts and the queen of spades. You could use all 4 queens if you want to hit a dead-on prediction, but I have a multiple out here designed into this. I've got my jack of clubs and my jack of spades and my 3 of diamonds, which is going to match this 3 of hearts down here. So the way this is set up is I have 3 indifferent cards sitting on top. The first card that we're going to go to in this design was the jack of clubs. That's actually going to get called and selected first. Immediately under that is going to be the jack of spades, because this is going to be the first card that I count out, spell out of the deck, right? And then immediately under that is going to be the 3 of diamonds, because this will be the next card that I spell out of the deck. And then under that, I have the queen of spades and the queen of hearts. And I have an out for either one of these two. And then I have an additional out too, because if they name either the queen of hearts or the queen of spades, my out for that is, if they name dead on what it is, I can say, except for those moments when you think of a card. See, if you think of a card without actually selecting it, you won't find the mate by spelling. You'll actually find the card. So that's my way to get out on that. Now you could stack all of the queens here for a queen force and hit it dead on, or hit the mate no matter what they say. That's a possibility. I just don't think it's worth it. So I just put these 2 here. Keeps my slug smaller. So ultimately, ignoring this down here, I could have this 3 of hearts up here as a selection just underneath the jack of diamonds. I could do that. Or I could put my 3 of hearts somewhere else, maybe stick it on top, and then I can have everybody shuffle a section, and I keep that slug, right? And I false shuffle it, or I run it through twice. And then what I do is when I collect everything back, I could run this 3 to the bottom, and then I can force something from the bottom. Maybe do a crisscross force or something like that. And I can force that out later on. But I decided to do it this way. Anyway, just some possibilities and a justification for keeping all of this in a slug rather than just stacking it. Which is an option we're going to talk about here in a minute. So that's my setup. You can rewind to see what's going on. Here's how it plays out. First thing is I have them point to a card. So this is a spread call force, very common magician, right? We like to do spread call selections on here. So what I'm going to do is I have 3 indifferent cards, and then I'm going to force this card, which is going to be the jack of clubs. So I say put out your finger, and then I want you to, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to spread 3, call under the jack of clubs, the 4th card, spread everything on top of that. And I want to get down past my double thick key, right? And I say, go ahead and touch a card somewhere in the middle. Doesn't matter what they touch. I've been culling my jack of clubs underneath everything up to that point. When I square, I'm now in a position where normally I would show this card, but I want to keep it a secret. So I'm just going to peel it off the bottom and set it out there. That's the first selection. By removing that card, I now am set up to force out all of the cards in order after the top 3 cards. So the next card to force out will be the jack of spades for that, the 3 of diamonds for the 3 of hearts, which I'm going to force here in a second. And then I have an option on the queens whenever I get to that point. The next thing I'm going to do, at least in this version I did, and again, you could force this any way you want without a key. I use my key, is I say, just say stop. And I use the dribble force using a double thick card. So I stop at the break of the double thick card, and it's going to be the 3 of hearts. But again, what I do is I peel it off, slide it off, and I set it out. Now I'm going to go through the procedure of a queen force. So a queen force is a force that feels like a thought of card, but it's actually a multiple out for any one of the queens. Because of the nature of the trick that we're picking mates in the end, I actually only need to deal with 2. I can deal with the Queen of Spades or the Queen of Hearts, and then I can play an alternative if they name the Queen of Spades or the Queen of Hearts. So for my selection process, I used a coin. They're just doing false dichotomy choices here. This is equivoque, right? So I do the Queen Force. I say, imagine you have a box, a deck of cards in the box. I want you to remove either the number cards or the picture cards. Remove is an ambiguous term. We've covered this many times before. They say number cards. You say, great, well, remove the number cards. That leaves you with the picture cards. If they say the picture cards, say, great, we take out the picture cards. Now you're looking at the picture cards either way. You've got jacks, queens, kings. You've got there what? You've got ladies and you've got men. What would you like to pick out? And I like to do the motion when I do that. Pick out the ladies or the men. If they say the men, say, great, well, pick out the men. Now you're looking at the ladies there, right? If they say the ladies, say, great, we'll take out the ladies and you can spread them in your hand. And now you're looking at these 4 suits. You've got spades, hearts, clubs, and diamonds, right? What would you like? It doesn't matter what they pick, right? We'll dribble here and we get spades. What I'm going to do in this case is I'm actually going to be forcing the Queen of Spades when I get to that spot. Okay, and I'm going to give the caveat when we get around to that reveal. I'll say, except for those moments when you think of a card like you did. You didn't pick a card, you actually just thought of it. And if you spell out a thought of card from the top of the deck, you actually find that card, right? And that's what we're going to do for that. If they named the clubs, we'll do that. If they named the hearts, we'll find the hearts. If they name diamonds, Queen of Diamonds, then we'll find the duplicate or the mate for it. Okay, now the forcing out in the count. It's very simple. Whenever I'm counting, after the first 3 cards, I'm going to call the next card for the first 2 underneath all the spelling until I hit it. So we have Jack of Clubs. I'm going to spell it out. J-A-C. On K, I'm going to spread call the card, which is going to be the Jack of Spades. And then I'm going to keep going. So we have J-A-C, K call, O-F, pushing underneath, C-L-U-B-S. I have spread call forced my Jack of Spades into place. I peel that off. Then I go to the next one. Now I'm lined up. The 3 of Diamonds is next in line, 4th from the top. T-H-R, and then this is the one I do, E-E-O-F-H-E-A-R-T-S. And then I've forced by spread calling the 3 of Diamonds. Now we come over here. They named, I can't remember what it was. Queen of Spades, is that what they said? So actually the Queen of Spades is first and then it's Queen of Hearts. So I'm either going to call the 4th card or the 5th card. In this case, it's going to be the 4th card because they named the Queen of Spades, right? So Q-U-E-E, call on that one, N-O-F-S-P-A-D-E-S, Queen of Spades, right? And then we'll peel that one off. And now I'm ready for my reveals. Whenever you pick a card at random from a shuffled deck and then you spell it from the top, you always find the mate. Here we found the Jack of Spades. Here we found the 3 of Diamonds. Except for those moments whenever you think of a card. If you don't select a card and you just merely think of one and you spell that one from the top of the deck, you actually find that card, which seems completely justified, right? So again, multiple outs, and in this case, we're using a multiple out actually just to simplify the method a little bit. You don't have to do that. If you want to stack all 4 queens, you can, but I'll tell you one thing, by doing this, it actually puts you in a good position where you can do that. It's quite inspectable because this queen's here, but there's nothing else in place, right? It's just there's nothing to find at this point. With what I did, I do have my key in there. But again, you could use a different force. You could instead just keep that first card on the top, maintain your slug as they shuffle, everybody shuffle, put it all together, put yours back on top, and then just run that card to the bottom, and then you're ready. When you get to that one, say, why don't you just cut the deck somewhere in the middle, do that, and then you show, here's where you cut, right, the delay, and you force that card in, and then you move on from there. Once you've done that, all you want to do is you want to make sure you reverse the cut. Set it down so that you put the top back on the top. So that's a reason to do this as a force, a call force. Now, other options, you obviously don't have to do that, right? You could just stack the deck. Just stack everything and force out what you need for the selections, but then just have the other cards stacked appropriately one at a time in a routine to do that. You could just do that. Very, very simple. All that's required for this, you must do at some point a false shuffle of some kind. You have to falsify a shuffle. You have to do that subtly, maybe several times, just so that you can imply the fact that everything has been mixed up. And you can call attention to it later on in a subtle way if you want to use a stack. Stacks are fine, okay? You can use a stack to do anything. I mean, that's the whole premise behind memdeck work, right? Doing memorized deck work really is rooted on that idea that you can really do just about anything if you just stack it up and use a false shuffle to muddy up the picture. Other options for doing this impromptu, okay? Before I get to impromptu, because you can do this impromptu, I have a couple strategies for you to pull this out, this mate's trick. I want to address the description. Okay, so that's this one here. Okay, this is a setup, but it's gaffed in such a way that it's somewhat inspectable, right? They can truly shuffle these cards. All I've done is I've pencil marked 2 mates, right? That's it. I've pencil marked a set of mates. All I did. Okay, and what that allows me to do is that whenever I spread, after they've shuffled the cards, just as described, I'm just looking for my marking. So I have a pencil mark here. It's going to be a 5 of whatever, a black 5. And then my other pencil mark, I scan through. And usually I have time to do this. I might have rubbed my pencil mark. Oh, here it is. Okay, my light's glaring on it. I couldn't see it. So my other pencil mark's over here. Now what you want to do is you want to just decide which one you're going to pick. I would recommend that you pick the pencil marking that is most central. Right? So that's the one that you take out. Now you take that out, and as you're doing that, and you might do a little bit of management here, because we're operating hands-on management, because we're operating on the premise that they have no idea what's going to happen. Say we're going to take out a random card, and you shuffled the deck. You have all kinds of options in here, right, that you could have gone with. What I've done is I've actually eyeballed 4 from the top, or 3 above, I should say, my pencil mark. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a table spread shift. And again, you do this openly. It doesn't have to be invisible. All I'm going to do is reach down, and I'm going to thumbnail off everything above 3 above my pencil marking. Right? And then I set this on top as I close it up. It really doesn't have to be super clean. You're just gathering things together. You haven't explained what you're going to do. Shuffle deck, random card selected, that's it. Okay? Now, this does actually rely on you making the selection. If it doesn't rely on you making the selection, the alternative is that you would have to force one of the pencil marks. Now, certainly there's a way to do that, right? You can just spread them out so that you can see where a marking is at, right? And then you can position that either with a table shift of some kind or a cull or whatever, and then you can force it back out on them. But you would have to get back into a position where you can catch a glimpse of this other pencil marking and get it up or higher in the deck. Now, another alternative to this, just to be aware, you don't have to necessarily get this 3. If I see this, just as an example, if I see this in there, I just need to get it within spelling range, right? So if I spot my pencil mark, I see it right here. Whenever I go do my shift, I can really shift a number of cards above this. It doesn't have to be exactly 3. It just needs to be a small enough number so that I can count through a card, right? Ace of Hearts, I think, is probably the ace, or 2 of hearts, right, would be the lowest spelling. Is that right? Clubs? Maybe clubs, 2 of clubs, ace of clubs. So it has to be within that range. But here's my situation. I've now got my second pencil mark near the top. In this case, I've got it 6 from the top, but I can see the marking to call it. And then I've got my selected card down here. 5 of spades, spell it out. Shuffled deck, remember they shuffled it. F-I-V-E-O-F, I call it there. S-P-A-D-E-S. 5 of spades. And the interesting thing is that whenever you spell from the top to a selected card, you find its mate, right? So that more directly addresses the question as it was. Now, how about doing this completely impromptu? Could you do this completely impromptu? Yes, I do believe so. Believe you can. Let's say, we'll get our key out of there. Let's say they shuffle the deck. Borrowed deck in use. They shuffle the deck. You take it back. Now, what you're going to do is your dirty work, and this is what these moves are for, okay? We're going to go back to the spread call and use the spread call for what we use the spread call for usually whenever we're covertly trying to acquire cards of interest. You take the deck back and you just demonstrate that everything is out of order. What you're looking for is you're looking for a pair. You have a couple strategies here. If you want to just spread them out, you can note if you have a pair somewhere together. Sometimes you'll find that there's a pair together. You can take a gamble on that. In this case, this is pretty funny, I actually have, just because of the situation I was in, it happened to come to the top. I've got 3 of diamonds, 3 of hearts. This is actually the 3rd or 4th and the 5th from the top. So just by doing that, I lucky, right? I can force out by selection the first one, having them point to a card, and then I go through the normal procedure. Otherwise, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spread call a pair. So what I do is I just spread kind of a hand width, so 4 or 5 cards, and then I just call a card. Now you want to make sure that if you call the next card, that its mate is not down here. Okay, you need to call something that doesn't exist in mate form in the bottom. Also, you don't have to be so precise about this either, because you can define mates any way that you want to. This is another a flexibility that you have that I've used in other tricks where I'm doing mate kinds of effects. The way you define mate can actually change the trajectory of the method. I don't necessarily have to find the other black card or the other red card. I could define the mate to the 3 of spades as being the 3 of hearts. Right? See, the sister card to that would be the 3 of hearts because it looks similar. Right? I could define diamonds and clubs in that way. Any way you want to define it works. You don't have to necessarily make black to black, red to red. So just keep that in mind. Whatever is most advantageous is what you go for. Time is of the essence. It's a shuffle deck in use, and you're trying to set the trick up in front of them. So by justifying the spread, you say everything is out of order, and you have free choices of anything that you want. So I'm going to call the 8 of clubs, and I'm just going to go forward until I see if I want the black 8. I can do that. You might choose to just take the next 8, whatever it is, and call it a day. Okay, so I've done that, and I've got these 2 underneath the spread. Now, what I like to do is be very direct. I get down to the last 3 cards, I break, and then I'm going to force these 2 8s now in below those top 3 as I close the spread. So you just kind of make a slight break and then push them in there. So now I have this situated where I've got 3 indifferent cards and then a pair of matching 8s on the top. Now I can just go on as normal. So totally impromptu. I have justification. When I show, I spread call out. I then say, go ahead and put out your finger like this. What I want you to do is I want you to just reach out and touch any card somewhere in the middle. They touch a card somewhere in the middle. Whenever you're doing a spread call force, I don't know how the angles were on this at the table. You kind of want to have the top showing, and it's nice to bring it up kind of under the chin or right underneath their nose so they're looking down on it. They reach out, they touch something, they touch a card, you go like this. And what you can do, actually, if you're just doing one card, is you can say, this is your card. Okay, I want you to remember your selection. Okay, you need to have that in your mind. Now, I don't even know what it is. What I want to do, now here's another alternative. They can say what it is, you could take it out, you could do it like before, but here's an idea. You have to trust your spectator though. 8 of spades is what it was. What you're going to say is, I'm going to count one at a time through the cards from the top of the deck that you shuffled. Okay, and I want you to spell out your card. So whatever it is, it's going to be the something of something. If it's the 2 of hearts, it's going to be TWOOFHEARTS. And I want you to tell me stop when I get to the last card of that spelling. You got it? Okay, go ahead and spell it out. So you're going to count 1, 2, 3, cull on the fourth as they're spelling in their mind. E, I, blah, 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 blah. And you're going to go through counting slowly, and they're trying to spell in their mind, which is plenty misdirection, right? And they say stop. You say, great, this is the spelling of your card. And then you show that you always find the mate. Now, the best part about doing it this way, again, you have to trust your spectator to spell well and not switch things up, not spell something different, okay? Not mess around with you, but actually follow directions. The nice thing about this presentation, which is, by the way, totally impromptu, they shuffled the deck. You haven't seemed to do anything other than show that they're shuffled. You never know what it is. You never actually, I mean, you do know what it is, but to them, you never know their selection. It's never spoken. It's only in their mind. And you can even play this up. This is one of those moments where you can say, and now this is the mate to the card that you're thinking of. This is a card that you're thinking of. It's only in your head, right? This is where that terminology, that verbiage works really, really well, because you've not seen the card. Even though you know what it is, you put it in place. You can say, we should find the mate to the card that you're thinking of. And here they see the mate. You don't even know what it is. No one's said what it is. They might be the only person that even saw what it is, and now they see this card. Could be very, very powerful. So there's a whole bunch of options for this effect. A couple of impromptu types of ideas, slightly prepared, which I think more closely aligns with the written suggestion for the effect, and then a routined one. And then, of course, a quick honorary mention to the concept of just stacking a deck. So you can just stack the deck up and just have everything set, do false shuffle, and you can do that trick without too much trouble. Trying to think if there's anything else. You could do this in sequence, I think impromptu, but it would require you to cull multiple pairs. So if you have the opportunity to do that, you could follow this too in that way. So it's probably worth mentioning that I think the effect is so simple, so direct and so quick, you may want to do it more than one time. But I highly recommend for something like this that rather than doing it once and then doing it again, I think you want to set your routine with something like this, where you have multiple selections. You count spell down, and before the revelation, you have them sitting there, and then you explain what you've done. Because if you explain what you're doing on the first time, when you get to the second, you're not actually doing a routine. You're actually repeating a trick. And you shouldn't repeat a trick. If you save the revelations on this and the explanation until the revelation 1, 2, 3 at the end, or however many you do, you're not repeating the trick, but you are. You're repeating the trick, but you're not repeating the trick in an educational way where they're looking for possibilities. They don't know what you're doing. They don't know what you're up to. They don't know what's going on. They don't know why all this procedure is happening. And to save that information and keep that gap, the knowledge gap present until the end, it gives you flexibility to repeat the trick in routine. Okay, so just a couple of concepts philosophically there for you to think about. So, hey, really great idea. I like it. I like the trick, and here's a bunch of ways to do it. Good luck with that. Happy magicking. If you have any other ideas for this, go ahead and put it in the comment section below. And if you have any effects that you would like to see given the common magician treatment, please indicate in this video or in one of the previous videos. I'll keep checking back there to see for new comments and new ideas that we'll evaluate. It can be cards, it can be just close-up table magic, found items, but we want to try to come up with effects that are kind of parlor table magic, very common magician channel sort of effects, and we'll see what we can do with those if we get a chance. So anyway, again, good luck with this. Happy magicking and happy 4th of July.